Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the RENNSPORT Community Leaks. It's been quite the long time, it feels like, until since we had the first round in Spa-Francorchamps 2 weeks ago, because there has been so much action going on. But we are back here at Rhode Atlanta. We've been here yesterday, and some other people in RENNSPORT are here today as well simultaneously in the ESL R1 broadcast. But today, as said, we have the Community League for episode 2 of 6. We have quite a big grid today for RCL. And of course, I'm not alone again because I'm joined by Tim Ireland.
Hello, Rem. You know, how are you today? I keep calling you Remco.
Am I this low level now?
I know, it's terrible. I can only apologize in the highest, most strenuous way.
Well, I accept that apology. But yeah, it will surely be very interesting today. We have a lot of drivers. We have interesting implications for the championship. So, what do you think? What do you expect from today, especially after seeing yesterday's race?
Yeah, I watched yesterday's race with you and Remco commentating on it. And I've watched a bit of the ESLR1 from today, so I'm hoping for more of the same of what we've been getting there. Some nice close racing, some interesting moves. You've got to be a bit forceful on Road Atlanta. But yeah, it's a fun track, I think. I know some people don't like it.
Where you find people not liking basically any track in existence. Today I drove the 911 Cup feature race at Nürburgring, which was quite awesome. And sent it to Lucas, and the first answer from him was E. He's not the biggest fan, but the people get on track now for qualifying. So we will switch back to live footage here. As we see many cars exiting the pits. And we also seem to have a good mix of cars. If we take a look, we have a couple of Porsches, a couple of BMWs, again one single Audi. But overall it looks like a pretty good mix, if you ask me.
Yeah, we've got a couple of Mercedes thrown in there for good measure. The Porsches always seem popular. People just like them. And they are fun to drive, so you can't blame them really. But yeah, and the M4's always, I feel like it's a fairly safe option. It does what it's told, doesn't do anything crazy.
Yeah, indeed. It always comes down to driving style, and different tracks fit different driving styles as well. So there's so much availability in this because all the cars are on an equal pace, or have the equal potential pace, as you could call it. So it's good to see that people actually do drive different cars. I mean, you know from different sims that some cars are more popular than others, not only because they are good, but just because they are a Porsche, because they are an Audi, because they are Mercedes, just because you have that brand connection in a way. And I think most people do have that.
Yeah, people tend to favor a certain brand. I know when I signed up for RENNSPORT, I was driving the Audi in another sim at the time. So I picked the Audi as my car in RENNSPORT, and I do not drive it.
Well, I do drive it a lot. I actually have an Audi shirt on me right now.
What a fanboy.
I bought it when I was visiting DTM in 2022, I think. And today is the first time I actually wear it because I was like, it was still in the original packaging, so I was always like, nah, gotta keep it.
Back in 22, I don't think you had a lot of choice when it came to DTM, though, did you? Wasn't it just Audi and Mercedes?
No, 22 was with the GT3 era already. That was 2020, where they still had Class 1, but only Audi and Mercedes. But coming back here to RENNSPORT, it will be Mark Onyemachi who might set the first flying lap here coming around the final turn, and it's in 1:19.3. And it's already a solid benchmark. We've seen, of course, faster lap times yesterday. But also let's not forget that those are the ESL Runners-Up Cup drivers. In that case.
It was a packed field yesterday, wasn't it? It was very tight.
And I mean, for those who missed it, it was the first time Nico Nüninghoff didn't win. Mostly
know,
due to the mistake in the start, but he didn't win.
I mean, that in itself made it an exciting race. It wasn't a Nico walkaway at the front.
But on the other hand, this guy, Dominic Ladler, he finished second. Just behind Pompilio. He had definitely a great race. The best race of his season so far. And I think he will keep that momentum up. He's, of course, a good contender in the RCL, as he's always in the community championships. Even though right now he's only in third in the overall standings. Because the standings are led by Tim Schroeder and Joao Loreto in behind. And we can also take a look at the standings. Here you have them. Actually, let me move them here, because I didn't anticipate the leaderboard to be there. So you have Tim Schroeder leading it, but he's not here today. He will lose out points to, well, Dominic Ladler, to Margon Imachi, to Ali Zaher, basically everybody who is here. Joao Loreto is also on the top split here today. Currently in 8th position, but hasn't set a valid lap time yet. Is on his way to do so now.
Yeah, we've got Jochen Thunder in as well. Doesn't seem to be that. There seems to be a lot of new faces today, which is always good.
Yeah, there really is. Also, quite a lot of players without ratings, so this might be their first competition. But so far, it didn't look too bad overall for them.
No, there was a bit of a kerfuffle in practice, which practice is a very short session. It's not really a practice session as such. But they seem to be all getting out on track. They're fairly well spaced. There's a bit of a group going around, but they all seem to have found their space, so we should start to see some nice flying laps coming through.
Indeed, and we see times drop. Dominic Ladler already down to 1:18.6, but he is right now, I think, really starting to push, and over push being stuck in traffic there, actually. Joachim Thunder, of course, also was there yesterday, but now blocked in traffic with the number 12 car. That's Kenzo Wasabi, and spins out on the exit as well. That will compromise this next lap. But yesterday, we've seen, I think, 17s a lot. So
yeah, I think there were a few 17s on the board.
I mean, Dominic Ladler is not far off the lap times he did with an 18.6. Of course, this qualifying format is different to the one we had yesterday. Yesterday, you had one-shot qualifying, basically. And there you aimed for a low 1:18. In this case, with traffic and all that stuff, a mid-18 is very solid.
He did the warm-up event yesterday, didn't he? That's the main thing.
You gotta set priorities, so I mean the warm-up couldn't have been any better. So,
but now he's gone for the main event, the RCL.
Marco Nemachi is on a good lap here.
Yeah, he had a very good lap earlier on, but then he spun in the third sector, so unfortunately it put him back a bit. This is a very different race to or it's going to be a very different race to the Runners-Up Cup, though, with that being, I think it was 10 laps, whereas this is a lot longer, so worrying about your tyres is definitely something that's going to be in the back of your mind for the drivers.
Indeed, of course, also with the pit stops, you gotta remember where to brake for the pit entry. It's a bit tricky if you don't know where to look for, basically. Of course, it's on the inside of the final turn, right after the bridge, but if you haven't done many pit stops here, it's not as straightforward as on some other tracks like Spa, where everybody knows it.
People just cannoning into the wall there. I think they'd all decided they were going to go back to the pits and couldn't be bothered to pull over. It is an interesting pit entry because you come over the hill, it's a bit blind. You're already on the racing line, you're kind of over to the left-hand side and you've got to get over to the right, slow down make sure nobody's behind you, still trying to go flat out for the last corner. And if somebody decides to try and overtake you on the inside because you suddenly start slowing down, then you might end up having to do a parade lap to get back to your pit stop.
Basically doing what Remco Major did in the RWL, but I mean, if he keeps bragging about beating Nico Nüninghoff at Spa, I can also casually remind him that he did mistake as Pasternak loses the end, entering the backstretch. It's fairly easy, he just took too much curb, but if you try to attack the curb, it's very tricky in the case of if you don't commit fully, it will spin you around. You have to be fully on it or don't hit it at all. It's mostly like, for example, the sausage curbs in Monza, which are very aggressive if you don't fully take them.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a couple of tricky curbs on this track, and you can gain a fairly decent amount of time by being a bit more aggressive around the corners. But yeah, like you say, if you're not fully committed to it, it can bite you.
But that's, I think, qualifying already, because we only have a couple of seconds to go and nobody else is still driving. So, yeah, your qualifying results is Dominik Lalo on top in front of Marc Onyemachi, Aliza, and then Joachim Thunder. 4 different cars in the top 4.
We like to see that.
We really like to see that. But of course, this is only round 2 of 6 in this Community League, Season 2. Next time we will still be in America, but over at Daytona, and this will be in 2 weeks' time. Of course, next week we won't have an event due to the RCE being moved to Sunday, which we will talk about later as well. But Daytona always proves to be very interesting in terms of the racing it provides. So people now get ready to get on the grid. So I think this race will pretty much dictate how the rest of the season goes in a way, because of course Tim Schroeder isn't here, Loreto, Thunder and Ladler are here though, and they do want to get a lot of points, I think.
Yeah, you've got to wonder whether it'll be in the back of their mind whether to, if things do get a bit competitive up front, whether it's just better to bag the points while Tim Schroeder's not here.
I mean, he is a genuine threat. Of course, sometimes he does his hiccup, let's say, but he's probably one of the quickest drivers right now in the game, as we see one of the Porsches being very fast to his box.
Yep. Oh, now he's getting bumped around.
But we are green here in Road Atlanta, and actually Dominik Lala loses the lead and also nearly P2 to Joachim Thunder. As up front, it's Marc Onyemachi taking the lead. But Joachim...
Yeah, there was a bit of a chaos going on there with the pace car to Marc Onyemachi capitalizing instantly and just going for the first place. So you can't blame him.
Gog Polassos also here. I think we haven't mentioned him yet, but he's running in 6th right now. He also is in the good championship position and trying to get more points as the side-by-side right behind the 2 Mercedes of Ali Zahe, who didn't really have a good start. He started P4 on the grid, or P3. He's now having to defend again is Adrien Luneau, who we see back in this competition, which is good to see. But up front, it's Marc Onyemachi under pressure from Dominik Ladler.
See if Ladler goes for a... Oh no, he didn't. I was good. Didn't even get my sentence out about whether he was going to go for a bit of a high-risk move there. But he backed off already. He's got plenty of time, and he knows he's got the pace, so he's just got to wait for a decent, clean opportunity to get past Marc.
Meanwhile, Aliza putting the pressure on Gog Polassa for 6th place. Aliza is really like a driver who developed a lot over the recent times, as Ladler's now going for a move on Marc Onyemachi. Oh, and both are round.
And that's promoted Joachim Thunder to the front of the grid now.
It's kind of a repeat to what we've seen yesterday, if you ask me.
Dominic Ladler rejoining in 9th place, which that has got a sting.
Oh, that was a close call there with Onimachi and Pasternak who was round on the crest. Oh, and there's a lot of damage to the car of Gog Polassa, to the car of Andre Pavliga, I think. Might have to do with the unfortunate position of Pasternak's car behind the crest. If you spin there, you can basically do nothing, because the cars approach at so different angles, exiting the turn.
I thought one of the BMWs had... Oh, I think he's gone back to the pits already.
It's probably Abazov.
Dominic Ladler getting way back up to 4th place after his incident because of that. He's been gifted a bunch of places there.
But look at this, the top 4 in qualifying are back in the top 4 in this race. Actually, the top 5, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah.
But what I want to talk about before the contact between Ladler and Mark Onimachi was that Ali Zaher, I remember when he did his first race, I stand now guys side by side, I can't even talk, they do too much here to really give us a break. That's a close one. Dominic Ladler is really putting the pressure on, is he?
He is, yeah. That is not a place you generally try to go side by side, but he's obviously desperate to get down the track and start making up some more places.
Oh, Ali Zaher losing the rear end there. And into the wall. Very unfortunate for him. But he has kind of a big gap.
Whoa, somebody's spinning off in the background there. That was narrowly avoiding another incident.
Definitely a very challenging race so far.
But yeah, it's been a bit chaotic.
But I mean, it's what we've seen yesterday as well. It's a bit surprising that we also see it in a long race as this is a 45-minute race, not a 20-minute one. But yesterday, of course, we have seen Nico Ninninghoff doing a rare mistake, trying to get past Pompeo in the start, or keep ahead of him. We've now seen Dominic Ladler quite aggressively throwing it into the first sector against Mark Onimachi. Who was to blame? No idea. Looked a bit like a racing incident as well. But it seems like the stakes are very high, or the risk that the drivers are willing to take as Gog Polassa clips the grass. Ooh, and hard into the barriers. It's a bit of a repeat to what we've seen from him in Spa, where he just couldn't keep it together for the amount of time.
Yeah, Loretto had a bit of a grass-cutting moment there, which has allowed Ali Zahir to catch right up. Which is, you don't want an AMG behind you when it comes to the long straight back section.
I mean, yeah, with the BOP in place at the moment, the Porsche isn't slow on the straight either. It sounds surprising.
No, that's true.
But actually it is not too far off on the straight line. I remember in NLS the other teams actually complaining that the Porsche was fast on the straight line, which is kind of ironic. But well, that's the difference in speed and in the BOP in cars.
Dominic Ladler just setting a purple middle sector. Now he's just set a purple first sector as he starts another lap. Whoa, but he goes for a big drift.
Ooh.
I thought he was going to hold it for a minute. It was all got a bit Dom Toretto, but off he slid.
If this continues as it is at the moment, Joachim Thunder, I mean, Dominic Ladler is not known for crashing, so I don't want to talk anything commentators curse and stuff, you know. But Joachim Thunder does so rarely a mistake that if it continues like that, he might well end up this race absolutely crushing everybody today.
Yeah, he's got a good lead. He's just got to just not do anything dumb, really. The gap between him and Mark Onimachi has fluctuated a bit, but it's not like majorly going one way or another. Mark does have the fractionally faster best lap time so far. But we know that Joachim Thunder is no slouch. He's definitely able to keep his head and keep putting in good laps.
I mean, for Adrian Lunar, this would also be quite a good race. Currently in third, but of course, Dominik Ladler is still very fast, unless he really damages his car in the incidents he had, but it didn't look like he had hard impacts with the wall.
No, it was a bit more of a side impact than a front or a back, so I don't think it'll have done too much damage to his car. He does seem to be handling all right at the minute. So he's got 4 seconds catch up, but there's a long way to go in the race yet, and he was on pole for a reason.
But nonetheless, we have 4 different manufacturers in the top 4, so gotta keep mentioning that. Yeah, but on the other hand, for Dominik Ladler now, he's still not in a bad position points-wise, because he's in front of Joachim Thunder and Joao Loreto. Joachim Thunder, of course, would bag a lot more points, but the gap between the two of them, if we again take a look at the standings, we see that Joachim Thunder is on 112 to Ladler's 140, now 30 points. He will surely make that up if it were to stay like it is right now.
Yes.
But it's not that he would probably draw even roundabout and not surpass him in a way that Ladler would really struggle with that.
No, and as we've said, seeing Dominik Ladler making mistakes isn't something we're used to, and there's a long way to go left yet in the series. So he's just got to take a breath, reset himself, go, right, that's it. Let's just pass to the past. Let's just concentrate on the rest of the race. You can see he's already closing up quite a lot. So I'm sure we'll be seeing him start to pressure for third place soon enough.
Indeed. But I actually think we talked too much about the standings in terms of the drivers, because I don't see them really thinking about it after race 1.
No.
So in that case, at least in terms of how many points you make, I think the most important thing is that you finish and do back points. That they will probably think about, but not much more. As Eddie Lunar is now coming under fire from Dominik Ladler.
Just don't try to do it in this section, Ladler. It's not worth it. The S's are not for overtaking.
And we can see that Ladler is faster, of course, but if you are over-optimistic, like Ladler has maybe been earlier in this race, you can see how much it will throw you back.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's not a track that is particularly forgiving of mistakes. It's fairly old school with its construction, as you can see. You've got a bit of grass and then a big old concrete wall. And that grass does not slow you down a lot.
And the bumps don't help either in that case. If you go offline,
definitely don't help.
Looking to the inside, is he diving down? I think it was less intentional because he just braked us at his usual mark, but just kind of turned it into a move, and Lunar played with it very well. So.
Yeah, I think he decided he wasn't going to contest that, didn't he? He just seemed to kind of back off, stay on the outside. That's fine, Ladler, you just go through.
I mean, that's what we, I think, also talked a bit about yesterday at a later stage in the race, that you have to drive with the end result in mind. Fighting over position now only 10 minutes into a race that is 45 minutes long. It doesn't really benefit you, does it?
No. Mark Olamachi has managed to take over 1.5 seconds out of Joachim Thunder right now, though. So That gap's less than 6 seconds. He's set a purple first sector, so he's definitely not holding back right now.
And it seems like we have 5 DNFs already. Of course, courtesy due to the big collisions we had exiting turn 5 and turn 7. I think that wiped out a whole bunch of cars. But in that situation, if you spin there, like I think it was Pasternak, if I remember now correctly, it was Pasternak. You spin there on the exit. Of course, you hold brake. And everybody will tell you to hold brake. Sometimes, actually, you might not to hopefully slide out of the way. But usually you hold brake and you come to a stop on the exit curb of turn 5. Behind the crest. It's blind. Of course, people will see yellow flags, but they don't know where to approach. Usually, it's off the well, ideal line in a way that you can easily drive there. But it's completely blind, and you have to guess where the car is. Even if you only drive 80 kph, which of course nobody does if it's only yellows, not double waved yellows, you would probably hit that car, and after that it's just a chain reaction.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate set of incidents that it's one of those risks of racing, and especially early on in a race where people are bunched up together. You have to trust the other drivers around you, because you can't leave reaction time based gaps between cars, otherwise you'll never overtake anybody.
But there's also how quick it can go. Of course, luckily we still have got Polassa Racing, who was involved in this incident, and he's so far driving fine since his repairs were done in the pits. So he probably doesn't even need to stop another time.
No, that's true. But it's worth just going around and getting the points. I mean, he's still in 7th place because of the DNFs behind him.
Yeah,
so
indeed.
It's all useful points at the end of the season.
And of course, we have a few of the Joachim Thunder fan base in chat in form of the Medusius, who of course are very strong contenders in and of themselves. So it will be interesting to see them maybe back for the Spa 2.4 on a Sunday. But they're here to cheer on the current #1 driver, Joachim Thunder.
The gap between Joachim and Mark Onomachi is down to just over 5.5, well, just under 5.5 seconds. Mark's slowly chipping away at that lead, but it's closing.
Porsche in front of Joachim Thunder here should be Joao Loreto in 6th.
It's not the best track to overtake traffic here at Road Atlanta. It's tight, it's twisty. If you get behind somebody slower during the first sector, it can hold you up quite a lot.
Yeah, on the other hand, if you have Joao Loreto in front of you, you know he's a fair player.
That is true.
So he's one of the names that I think most people who at least semi-regularly drive know at this stage. And of course, that's also a big part of sim racing and racing in those circumstances together, to just be able to trust each other, to know people, to predict what they're going to do. Of course, in a race situation, it also does help you to know if you can trust them or not.
But down the back straight there, Mark Onomachi had definitely being able to see Joachim Thunder in the distance, and that's going to push him to keep going, keep putting in decent lap times, which he is doing. He's been very quick right now. It's nearly 4 seconds the gap between them now. Of course, he still has to overtake Giaroretto.
The way I know Mark, or the character I know behind Mark, he would probably just sit in his rig with a pulse of, or a heart rate of maybe 60 and just drive his laps and chip off time after time. He's just so calm behind the wheel, and in general is such a calm person. So he now gets stuck behind Loreto for a bit. But
yes, although he was doing a bit of flashing there, a bit of Tim Schroeder-esque flashing.
He didn't spam. Cost him about a second, but that's also about a second he gained before when Joachim Thunder had to lift for the Porsche.
Yes.
So it all equalizes in the end, of course.
Jaloretta just making sure the gaps were the same, keeping the race exciting and fair.
Indeed.
Dominic Ladler's pace right now is a little bit off. He maybe did get a bit of damage, or it wrecked his tyres a bit, or maybe he's just decided the gap's too big and it's not worth him chasing.
I mean, to get close to Joachim Thunder, you would on average need to make up 1 second per minute. So about 1.5 seconds per lap. 1.2 to 1.5. That's a lot to ask for on a 1 minute 18 voice crack. 1 minute 18 lap.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you would have gone for early on, although saying that his last lap was the fastest lap of everyone on track, so he's definitely not hanging around, but he's maybe not fully going for it.
I mean, even if he has just a very tiny amount of damage, maybe you can double check in the meantime. Of course, it's gonna throw off your confidence in a way, so... But it seems like his car is fine.
Yeah, he did a spin though, so I wonder if his tyres are maybe not as... Well, they're not going to be as fresh as they could be, that's for sure. But yeah, he's maybe just thought, this is fine, third's fine, I can live with that. And of course, you never know really what's going to happen with the pit stops.
I think they still have quite a good amount of laps to go.
On a match, he does seem to be doing a little better on fuel than Thunder. Not massively, but a little better.
I mean, of course, Joachim Thunder also has 4 cylinders more to feed. So
That's true.
the Audi is quite a thirsty car compared to other cars. I think that's the case also in many different platforms. On the other hand, it has its own benefits. I think it's a very good sprint car. But of course, it also is very good in endurance races where this is a bit more restricted. So, I mean, of course, winning the 24-hour Nordschleife this year, that's certainly a good start to it.
I can remember seeing something about the Audi R8 when they designed it, because they shared a lot of the design work with the Lamborghini Huracan, both owned by the same parent company, so they kind of pooled their money to do the initial design, but then split their different designs off further down the process. But with the Audi R8, they specifically were aiming for endurance racing, so they wanted to maximize it for that, to the point where I think you need to undo 4 bolts to change the gearbox. And you can do it all through the boot. You don't have to jack the car up to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's in general with modern GT3s. If you think about older GT3s, they are quite robust in a way, but with modern GT3s, if you have damage to the diffuser, you just unzip two connections, loosen 1 screw, and you have the whole back end of a Porsche 911 GT3 on your hand. It's that simple nowadays to change the part. Of course, it comes with its cost, because these parts are hell expensive.
Yes.
So...
Yeah, the easier you make a piece of bodywork to take off, the bigger it ends up being. Oh, Ali's here going for a bit of a trip on the outside of the corner there. But keep control of it and back on track. Yeah, the bigger you make a piece of bodywork, the more carbon fiber it is. And if it's broke, it's still...
Oh. Aliza has straight into the wall.
I obviously cursed him by saying he'd controlled that one.
All on purpose.
Mark here getting within 4 seconds now of Joachim Thunder carrying on his relentless pursuit. Dominic Ladlow is starting to close up the gap as well, though. He's just putting in some faster times. About equal time to Mark Onomachi, but they're both going faster than Joachim Thunder now.
I mean, what will be very interesting is pit stops, I think, in this case. I don't think we will see much variation and just a splash and dash as we usually see. But of course the timing of the pit stop will be quite interesting. So we can hear Thunder going through and Mark Onimachi we see going through. He's now behind Gog Polassa.
Yeah, Loretto in the pits at the minute, but he's obviously got some car problems after that. That isn't Loretto, it's Adrian Thingy.
Adrian Lenore, it's the first one.
Yeah. He's just been in the pits, he's fueled up. And he has a drive-through penalty, he must have sped in the pit lane.
Fairly interesting to see him that early. I would have suspected maybe Ali Zaher due to his offs and tires. But not that early. Surprising.
Even after his little few oops moments, Ali Zaher still staying in 4th place, though. He's got a decent buffer zone back, especially now after the pits.
I was fairly surprised seeing Mark Onimachi being this aggressive on the lapping maneuver on Gog Polassa. I mean, not aggressive in terms of lobbing it anywhere, but just on how aggressively he turned out of the slipstream with the rear end swinging that far.
Out of the top 3 right now, Joachim Thunder is the worst on fuel. Mark Onomachi is the best. But it's not a lot in it. I don't think it's going to make any serious difference to their decision making. Adrian Lugar going for his drive-through now.
I think soon it will be time for Thunder and Onimachi to come in though.
Adler in the pits. He's refueled.
He's now going again. And he comes out in clean air. That's good for him.
Ali Zaher and he doesn't seem to be opting to fix anything. Although it does say he's not got any damage, so maybe he was just very lucky with those offs.
Meanwhile, Jarloich was also in the pits, now passed by Gog Polassa.
Ali Zaher just leaving. He's got loads of clean air around him, so he's definitely got no problems there.
He will also emerge long way in front of Adrian Lenore, which is good for him.
Joachim Thunder is very low on fuel right now. He's just coming around to the pits, so he should be fine, but he's cutting it very fine there.
And he dives into the pits very last minute in a way.
It was. I was wondering whether he was going to do it there for a second.
Mark Onimachi also coming to the pits, gaining massive amounts of time by just driving to the pits a bit more cleanly.
I think Joachim Thunder was doing a bit of a lift and coast as he came in as well. Joachim Thunder, quick splash and dash, and he's out. Mark wasn't so clean into his pit box, so there was a bit more like realigning time for him.
Dominic Ladler's now on the backstretch. I think Dominic Ladler loses quite the amount of time here to the cars in front, but maybe it also does disrupt the whole picture a bit, the stuff that happened in between.
Yes.
So we see the real differences in just about a minute.
Mark Onomachi lost about 2 seconds in the pits there, so he'll be kicking himself over that one.
Right, he has still nearly 20 minutes to make up for it, so...
Yep, yeah, it's definitely not done yet. Dominic Ladler seemed to have lost about 5 or 6 seconds to the guys in front of him.
Indeed. Maybe he did fix some damage. Just not major damages. Who's he approaching? It looks like the car of Lunar.
Lunar has just done his fastest lap of the race. So he's obviously feeling a bit more comfortable in his car now than he was a minute ago. Thunder, Onomachi and Ladler are the only one who's been running in the 18s in the field so far, so they've definitely got the pace on the rest of the races.
The pace between the two AMGs is very similar though. Very similar.
Yes. It's a pity for us they're so far apart on track, otherwise that could have been a very interesting end of the race for us.
Joachim Thunder now using the flasher. But there's the difference between Joachim Thunder and someone like a certain Dutchman, or two different Dutchmen actually, because Joachim Thunder presses the flasher once.
And there he goes again.
Well, I think he heard us, so he decided to press it multiple times, goes down the inside of Loreto.
He definitely didn't want to get trapped behind one of the slower drivers coming into Sector 1. You can bleed time going through there. They'll have the rhythm and you know what they're doing, and you won't want to mess with that.
You know, Dominic Ladler overall really can't go faster than the BMW and the Audi in front of him. They're about equal on pace. Marco Onomachi is a bit faster, but it's surprising to see that he now struggles with pace, seeing yesterday's performance.
Yeah.
He kept P2 on pure pace against some highly regarded names.
So. He did. He was very quick yesterday. Maybe this is the cool down race, and yesterday wasn't the warm up race after all. But he's plugging away, and he's slowly eating into the gap, but only very slowly. He's definitely not at the same type of pace he was earlier on in the race. Mark Onomachi's being very consistent with his laps. It's a bit more that Joachim Thunder is putting in a fast one and then maybe a little bit of a slower lap.
6 seconds to gap with about 13 minutes to go. And he might just be that half a second faster per lap. Of course, this lap he had traffic. But overall, it looks like he can go or close that gap into the end of the race. But it is also, of course, close to the end, and we still have something to announce. Talked about it, but haven't really explained it yet. Actually, two things to announce. Especially one, I think you will really like both things. So, let's take a look. Because this Sunday, so in 2 days, we will have the Spa 2.4 hour, 24 cars, 22.4 hours, and a full day night cycle in game. I think that will be very interesting, and I'm sure you want to give us your view on this event because you really pushed for that, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I've got to admit, I was very on board with the Spa 2.4 hour thing. Yeah, it's about as long as we can go right now without driver swaps. So it's going to be one driver, just over 2 usual GT3 stints of time. So it's just a double stint and a bit. So it's easy doable for one driver, but you get the full Spa 24-hour experience. Or at least that's the plan.
Getting close to it, at least. I mean, it will also be completely new strategies, of course. I think we will see cars being driven way more heavy in terms of fuel load than we are used to, than we've seen it.
Yes, yeah, there's definitely going to be, depending on what they do with the tyres, I don't think the tyres have been announced yet, exactly what we're going to do with those, but yeah, the chance to really fill up and do a full GT3 sprint stint is kind of there, which is something we've not really had yet in RENNSPORT events. It's going to be 24 cars on track as well, so we'll have hopefully a nice big grid. We've had a lot of good interest for it in the Discord so far, so I'm hopeful we'll get a full field. Let's just hope it isn't turn one and done for a lot of people.
I mean, today was the first time that we've really seen that, wasn't it?
Yeah, and people know they've got a long race and they can take it easy. It's with the we use the Formula 1 starting position, shall we say, in RENNSPORTs, so you do go straight into that hairpin, which is so tempting to just push for another place. Go on, just do it.
I mean, for those who have maybe watched British GT at Spa, I think it was last week.
Yes, it was, yeah, for
It
Speed
didn't,
Week.
let's say the race didn't go until Eau Rouge, so usually Eau Rouge is the critical point, but they didn't make it there. That's how quick it can go at some tracks. But yeah, it will be very interesting, especially with 24 cars. And speaking of 24 cars, there's also another important announcement, because 24 cars will now be standard on every contest from Monday. So starting with next Monday, every contest you enter, doesn't matter if it's a sprint, a feature, RCE, RCL, whatever it is, it will have 24 car grids. And I think that's a change we really waited for, isn't it?
Yeah, we've all been really pushing for that one, and I don't think anyone's going to be disappointed to hear that. I know I'm looking forward to see more cars, bigger grids, especially with the multi-class events. The chance to have 12 of one and 12 in another is definitely a lot better than 6.
But yeah, we are getting to the final stage of this race. Mark Onyemachi can see Joachim Thunder at the end of the straight. It's 5 seconds in terms of the difference. So he hasn't quite made up the time he needed to make up, I think.
Not yet, no. Joachim Thunder has been pushing out some fairly quick laps. Mark has picked up his pace, but I think Joachim Thunder has pretty much matched him in that front. Neither of them have got traffic ahead of them, so it's all just going to be down to driver from now on. Arguably the perfect finish to a race.
Indeed, if it's going to happen like that. But Joachim Thunder so far, definitely a flawless race from his side.
Yeah, seeing as he was pretty much gifted the lead at the beginning, he's kept his head, he's put his laps in. He's not got too annoyed with traffic. He did a good pit stop. He gained a couple of seconds back there. So he's definitely put in a winning a performance deserving of a win. But I know Mark is going to be pushing and pushing from now on.
So right now definitely closing in faster than he was before. But of course, like, you can be gifted the lead, you can have luck with red flags, some people might cry about that, but in the end a win is a win in the way that you still had to do or fight for it. Okay, I know of one certain Formula 1 race where this might have not been quite the case, but you still had to do something for that. But in a race like this, even if you are gifted the lead, you still have to keep it there. You still have to make it mistake-free. Dominic Ladler could have fought back, had another off in the middle of the race, so that threw him out of the equation. Marco Animacci didn't have a good pit stop compared to Joachim Thunder.
No, they've all carried on fighting, so you definitely can't take that away from them. And Mark's last lap was an 18.9, whereas Joachim Thunder's was a 120. So that's why he's really closed the gap up last lap.
Dominic Lala trying to get past Gork Polas and now getting a nice slipstream down the backstretch. Of course, a small car like the Porsche completely fits into the slipstream of such a big car as the M4. But of course,
it's a good place to catch up with someone because you can get a little bit of an extra drag out of it.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, it's always like a drawback and an advantage to have a big car like the M4. And oh, Marco Animacci is round and into the barrier quite hard. So there's not too much damage to that rear right suspension of his car, but that will definitely put a nail in the coffin for his dream of winning this race.
Yep. Yeah, he was just pushing too hard. He was, and his hot tire spins him straight around again.
Now, Dominic Lala is going to see that and basically smell blood here, I think.
He's still got a fair distance to go. I think even at Ladler's pace, he's
But Mark is really struggling with the car, of course, understandably, but it will take him at least a lap until the tires can be pushed again.
His steering seems okay, so yeah, I think he's just being cautious with his tires, and he's still 8 seconds ahead of Dominic Ladler, so he doesn't have to worry too much right now. There should be about 4 laps to go, I think.
Meanwhile, Adrien Lenor has moved up into 4th position, and Alizar unfortunately DNF'd along the way. I think it might have been internet related to what I've seen in the meantime, but who knows. But he will probably be lapped by Joachim Thunder now to the end of the race.
Dominic Ladler's last lap was a 18.5. So he may well have smelt blood there because he's just on the purple lap of the race.
Seems like Marco Animacci can push his car just fine again. Oh, a little spin there for Polassa. At least he has a big enough cushion to allow Loreto to keep that 5th place, if he can keep it on the road for the rest of the race. Who himself is missing a bit of a front bumper. I mean, that's the good part and the bad part about having a very uniform body. Because if you miss the front bumper. You're not only missing the front bumper, there's a whole lot more that goes missing with it.
It's just an innovative tyre cooling solution. He was obviously getting a bit warm on the front, so he's jettisoned some bodywork to increase his ventilation.
I mean, at least it really helps with that. Just the problem if the rears don't get that cooling force and you have an imbalance in tire temperature. So you basically have to rip out the side skirts in the back end of the car as well.
Well, yeah, he's made a bit of a mistake not doing that at the same time, obviously.
But Dominic Ladler, 4 seconds behind Mark Onyemachi, still on very good lap times here.
Yeah, his last lap was still 2 seconds quicker than Mark's. So he's closing that gap fairly rapidly.
And it seems like we have 2 laps to go. He needs to make up at least 2 seconds in the next lap to really be in striking distance for the last one, but...
See what the times are like when they come across the line. Mark's doing another 121. Dominic Ladler doing an 18.7, so he's definitely closing. He could do it.
Let's hop on board with him here.
Gap's currently standing at 2.5 seconds. Jochen Thunder has eased way back on his pace now. He's well safe, so he's just cruising to the end. But Dominic Ladler is turning up the heat. He's taking a few risks on some of the curbs. But if you don't do it now, when do you do it?
I mean, he's completely safe from the cars behind, no matter how... Unless he DNFs now with a huge crash. Yeah. He still has the P3 save, so... But that BMW is getting bigger and bigger in front of him.
He's only got 1 lap really left to do it, so he's going to have to do some big moves. I think this might be a case of very small Porsche, very, very wide BMW pretty quickly.
Probably the widest car against the tiniest. Even though I'm not sure if the 992 might not even be a bit wider than the R8 is. Yeah, 8 is definitely shorter.
Yeah. Mark Onyemachi answering a bit there. He's managed to pull his pace back up to a 19.9. But now Ladler is within a second, and he's just getting the toe as it comes along to the big straight. He's not going to be going close enough to make a dive into the chicane, though.
Dominic Ladler, though, right now out of the final turn to take victory in the RENNSPORT Community League. But all eyes now on the final fight between Mark Onyemachi and Dominic Ladler. But I think he's too far away, unless he can get the best drive you could imagine out of that final turn.
Yeah, he actually lost a bit of time going through that last chicane, so I think Mark Onyemachi just putting enough in to keep ahead.
If that would have gone for another, I think he might have had him, but if Ren could,
yeah.
It's still P3 for him after that disastrous start, so he can be happy. Mark Onyemachi with P2 can be very happy as well, I think. It's Adrian Lunar in P4. Gok Polassa is on his way to finish in P5 and Jorloy to cross the line in 6th. Lots of DNFs today. Not what we are used to be seeing, but...
If it's going to happen anywhere, it's going to happen at Road Atlanta, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. Track like this is super challenging.
It is. You've got to be kind of on your game. It's full concentration track, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. and one mistake can punish you very severely compared to some other tracks with a lot of runoff. I mean, in some cases here, the gravel traps, which are supposed to slow you down, basically fall away from you. I think turn 1 being the prime example. If you go off there, no way of saving it. But I think that wraps up round number 2, or episode 2, of the RENNSPORT Community League. Season 2.
It was another good race.
Very good race indeed.
Definitely can't complain. It was not lacking in entertainment value.
Can bet on that. But of course, the entertainment for this weekend is far from over. If you enjoyed this, you can watch more about Atlanta on RENNSPORT by checking out the ESL R1 stream. I think they should be the semi-finals now, if I'm not mistaken. Or you can check out the SPA 2.4-hour race on Sunday, 6 p.m. CEST. We will keep you updated on the standings in the Discord. And we wish you a great evening. Until then, have a good time and goodbye.
Goodbye.